Shalom, everybody. This is Sephora again, the editor in chief from artisticministry.net. And I just wanted to do this interesting video. But first of all, I want to say thank you for everyone who has subscribed to this channel. Um, I hopefully, I know that I've been subscribing to a lot of channels and channels where, people have just been, inspiring me and uplifting me and just informing me just of a lot of things. And I hope that, that I can reciprocate the same thing here. If not here, then on the website. And some of my absence, I know for a while there I was doing a lot of videos just back to back to back to back to back. And then I kind of like stopped. But I wasn't stopping working. I was just, in terms of like doing them here, I've been doing an audio series on that I'm going to be doing on the website, the Artistic Ministry website, and it's I'm calling it This Fiery Trial, and that's taking the title from the expression that's in the book of First Peter chapter 4, verse 12, where in terms of just persecution, temptation, and just some of the tribulations and difficulties that we find ourselves in as being believers, and netsarim, or that word again translated as being branches on the vine of the Messiah. And so what he says in that passage, that verse, beloved, think it not strange concerning the fiery trial which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you. And so that's what I took for the series that I'm doing. And on the website, it's an audio series where I have basically the experiences that I was sharing here on YouTube. I decided to just try to do the whole thing on the website for anyone who might find it there, as opposed to coming to YouTube. And I was doing an interesting word study, and part of that presentation on the word try, this fiery trial, which is to try you. And so I was doing an interesting word search on that, and it was just amazing. And so I wanted to just do a small video, present it here, and then I'm going to like get back to what I'm doing on the website, because I just want to really just get that finished and just like make that available, just get it out on the internet as quickly as possible. So basically that word, I wrote down some information here. That word to try, it comes from, as most of you probably know, the New Testament. What we have was translated from the scriptures from the ancient Greek, and so the word that try, it's actually 3986 in the Strong's Exhaustive Concordance, and it comes from a root word which is number 3985. And if I'm pronouncing that right, I apologize if I destroy it, if I butcher it, but I want to say it's parazzo or pareso. And basically what it is, what I found interesting was that in terms of like the definition as to what that root word means, I think the very first definition for that word is to the idea of to try someone to see what is really there. Meaning when you have something, an object or a person, and what's on the outer shell, like like if it's like a flower that's surrounded by a lot of like leaves and maybe thorns, and you really don't know what kind of a flower it is. So you want to maybe isolate, maybe move back some of the leaves, move back some of the, so you can get a good look at what it is. What exactly is this flower, what is its essence. Okay. But so the idea is to, in terms of the word as it's being used in the context of this passage or this verse in First Peter, is this fiery trial, okay, that where we find ourselves in as as targeted individuals, or again, some using the phrase gang stalk. We can view this as we're in a fiery trial that's going to try us to see what is really there underneath. Okay. And when I was researching this earlier and doing part of the audio series for the website, one of the I remembered a passage that I had read in the book of Psalms, and I think it was actually one of the Psalms of King David, the sweet psalmist. He said that uh, the Most High, Elohim, laughs at the wicked. Okay, because and I just look at that in comparison to what we're dealing with. Where these individuals they have all this. These electronic and technological weapons that they can use against us. They have their little foot soldiers, little minions who are very organized in our communities, where they're able to stalk us pretty much 24/7, follow us whenever we go out of our, leave our homes, go to the grocery store, go to work, or wherever. They can show up there. They're very, organized. Everything is just, well timed, and we to the point that many of us don't even understand what's happening, how it is that they're able to hack into like an email account or onto our laptop. They're able to, sneak into our, where we're living. They can, make connections and do, networking and through, where we work at. They can, scare off our family members. They can insinuate themselves into our lives, and it's very, they have all of that against this one individual. Okay, and their attempt is to break us down, to destroy us, to drive us to the point of committing suicide, or perhaps doing something, vile or heinous that would, result in our, literal physical demise. But the Most High laughs at them in the sense that what's really going to happen is we find who we are. Okay, in terms of not just buckling in and doing is what would be, assumed, is going to happen. Well, it's not going to be long before, she gives in to drugs and alcohol, or, oh, this guy, he's going to crack and he's going to end up, doing something really, out there. That might not necessarily happen. And those of us who are under the grace of the Most High, who He has blessed and preordained from the foundation of the world, this is all it's going to do is show what is really there. And I look at some of the different, videos that I watch on YouTube, some of the different individuals, and you can see the strength that's coming through them. And one was a brother, and then another video by a sister where they were both, two separate individuals, two separate countries, different countries, but they were both, promoting this idea of to not refer to themselves or, this community as being targeted, but as being empowered. Okay, because something is empowering us, that's giving us the strength, okay, to fall back on our own reserves, which for many of us, it takes us right to the scriptures. And so I just found that very interesting. But continuing on with that word, because that was the definitions of that word, that was just one of them. Another one, that root word that's used in Peter, chapter 2, verse 12, that speaks of, to try. What it does, it implies to try whether someone is good or bad, or weak or strong, which is pretty much an extension of the first definition. So again, what are you gonna find when you get to the core, when these tactics of the enemy, and his little minions are so consistent and they don't stop, where we're dealing with sleep deprivation, where we're dealing with, feeling vulnerable around our literal, living arrangements, when, just everything that is happening, what's at the core. Okay, and for many of us, what's at the core is righteousness. It's goodness. That we would be drawn to the Bible, that we would be drawn to the scriptures, that we would be drawn, that this would bring us to a point that we would want to keep the commandments. How interesting. Because there are some who, that is not what happens for them. They are driven to a point where they take up, a gun. They're driven to the point where they, take up, alcohol or something. But for many of us, what's happening, because what's at the core is good. What is it that, that the Messiah himself said, my sheep, they hear my voice, and a stranger they will not follow. So here we are, sheep of his pasture, in this field, lost, cut off, maybe trapped in some brambles and in a thicket, where we can't move. Okay, but with all the wolves that are circling and all the cries and the howls and the yowls, we hear the voice of the Most High, or we hear the voice of his Messiah. You know, it's okay. It's okay. I got you. We're going to make it through. Just be still. I'm on my way. We hear that. That's what's at the core. We fall back to prayer. We fall back to reading the scriptures. We fall back to keeping the commandments. We fall back to soul searching to find out how this happened. What is it in my life that brought this about? And when we find out what it is, we make those changes. We repent. We accept our responsibilities. We clear this up. We go to the Father and pray his grace, that it will be with us, that he will forgive us, that he can help remove these thickets, these brambles, and get us out of this. Okay, interesting. Interesting that is where many of us is going to. Now, another meaning of that word that I found also very interesting in terms of like it's used to, it said, okay, I'm going, I don't have the actual word here in front of me because my Strong's is a very big, if you've ever seen one of those, it's like two encyclopedias put together, and I'm at work, so there's no way I can bring it to work. But it spoke of being tempted, okay, and the scriptural reference was one that was used by the word that was used, I think it's in the book of Matthew, where it spoke of how Satan came to tempt the Messiah when he was in the wilderness and he was fasting for that 40 days and 40 nights. The word that was used there, I think if I remember it correctly, was, and the tempter came. So that word, that root word parazzo or parazo, okay, that's used in Peter talking about to try, okay, and it's also the root word for tempt, which is what the devil, what Satan, attempted to do to the Messiah. You're the Messiah. Why don't you must be hungry. Why don't you turn these stones into bread? Or, you have such protection around you. Why don't you just leap off this cliff? Because doesn't it say that angels will catch you and draw you? I mean, tempting him, but that word, that's the same, that root word that's used in, that was used to talk about the tempter or those temptations, was also, that's the same root word that's used in this in this verse in First Peter. And another definition or another word that's applied is in terms of how, okay, I can't remember how it was. I don't want to like phrase it the wrong way, but it spoke of how the Most High does not, he doesn't, these trials are not to try to get us to sin. Okay, so this isn't about, the Most High is not going to let us get involved in this or get or be subjected to this, okay, to purposefully get us to commit sin. Okay, so that's the other point that I think is important, is because sometimes I can remember feeling like, I just want to, just, Abba, why are you letting them do this to me? What do you want me to do? I mean, just feeling, where you reach that point where almost sometimes you are, you're just like, what, I mean, how many times does a person have to like walk by and give a hate stare and, purposefully, follow me in the grocery store, before, I snap and do something, I mean, it's like, but that is not the purpose of this. And another point that I remember reading in that passage was that it's to show the trial is to show the recipient who we really are. Okay, so that word, I just found it to be very interesting. It was just packed with so many important, insightful perspectives as to what's happening. Okay, so basically, it's letting us know that that what we're dealing with, that it's not strange. Okay, that's what Peter was saying. Don't think that this is strange. Meaning, don't think that this is unique or new or rare, or you're the only one going through this. And two, that it's a trial. Okay, it's to try us, and we find, for us, because the Most High knows us. You know, the Most High knew that we were going to be put in this type of temptation, but because He knows us, because there's a part, the steps of the righteous are ordered. Okay, He knows, what we are going to be dealing with, and He knows how we're going to come through it. Okay, which is why He can laugh at the wicked when they think, they know something, they think they got something going on, but they don't know that He's using them. He's allowing them to do this because He knows there's no way this brother, no, they ain't going to get this brother. No, not going to happen. This sister over here, they think she's going to be reduced down to this. No, not going to happen. Just not going to happen. I mean, and I it would be interesting to do some type of I mean, maybe it's already probably been done before, but it would be interesting to do some type of a like a forum, or maybe in a chat room with some of us who have reached this a place where we have some peace, where we have a bit more understanding, where we have a bit more strength as to what it is that we're dealing with, and just to look at those who have started. I know one sister that I'm thinking of, who started a ministry that is very successful. There's a brother who is doing albums. There is another sister who is, I watched several of her videos back to back, just insightful, where people were able to, ask her for advice and how to deal with this, finding out, that a loved one is part of some of this targeting that she's dealing with, and how she was able to really offer just really thoughtful, practical, clear advice. And it would be interesting to know, when this first started, did they ever see themselves on this side, coming out on this side, where they would be strong enough that they would be able to lift someone else up and perhaps give them some advice? Did they ever think that they would be able, that when this first started, that they would see themselves having, a ministry, that they would be open to receive so many blessings and gifts from the Most High through the Holy Spirit, that they would be able to literally have a ministry where there are, hundreds, of people across the world who are listening to sermons and lectures and getting information and advice? Um, when this first started, how many of us really saw ourselves being in a place where we would be discovering musical talents and being able to produce albums, or to make albums, or to, I didn't see myself, when I was dealing with this, again, thinking that this was all just from, my ex, and some of the nonsense that he, had threatened to do to me. I never saw myself in a place where I would be studying art, where I would be getting a degree, where I would be using my talents in such a way to try, and do write praises to the Most High, where I would illustrate some of those praises. I never saw that, and yet that's what's happened. I never saw myself as being able to do a YouTube channel where I would be able to, share some of my experiences, and be able to maybe uplift and help someone else, or maybe just confirm for someone else what they have been suspecting and wondering all along, and now they have like even one more voice of confirmation. I never saw that. So that's really, I just think that is, that's interesting, that all of that is packed into that word, which, in English is, translated as try. Again, it says, think it not strange, okay, concerning the fiery trial, which is to try you, as though some strange thing happened unto you. Okay. Interesting that we can trace this all the way back to the early first century, okay, where this type of targeting, being singled out, being put through this. And now, I'm not saying that, that Peter was specifically talking about people who are being gang stalked, okay, or people who are being targeted. I understand that he's referring to a lot of different types of persecutions, but I don't doubt, okay, considering the people that they were, amongst whom they were living, who they were, proselyting and preaching to, that was probably, an element that many of them had to deal with when they left behind some of, the paganism and the idolatry and some of those Greek cultures in that part of Asia Minor, that people probably were singling some of them out and putting them through that, this similar type of thing that we're experiencing. And but here, it's been preserved, centuries ago, and now here it is for us, in the scriptures, where we can look at that word, where we can get some type of understanding that offers even more inspiration, that offers even more just hope, and strength for us as we go through this. And again, going back to the brother who was saying in one of his videos, to, maybe not use that word targeted, but to use the word empowered, because we are being empowered. The Most High is empowering us, and us, many of us who have in the view in the eyes of these people that are targeting us, one of the ways that makes it possible for them to do so is seeing us as being less than, seeing us as being, other, okay, where they can treat us in this way because we our feelings don't count, we're nothing, we're just, as I shared with you, one individual referred to me as, he said I was just a lab rat, just someone that they could test their little, stuff out on, and maybe, make notations and, observations, and then go back and refine it, and I mean, that's really what we are to them. And I listened to a very interesting, it was a recording that was done, I guess, a few years earlier, where an individual called in using a voice scrambler and admitted that he was a perpetrator. And he talked about some of the, how he was forced to be a part of that. That his, I guess, his family was threatened, and he spoke of some of the different, I guess, plasma. I want to say it was like a plasma weapon, and just a beam weapon, electromagnetic beam weapon that they were being taught to use to target us, and how he spoke on different ways that different people can protect themselves using, I guess, mirrors. The mirror having to be maybe an inch and a half thick, but putting that on the roof of the house, or I guess not necessarily, doesn't have to be on the outside of the roof, but maybe on the inside, as a way to reflect it back, these beams that they're shooting down at individuals. And I mean, it's just, this is just really, it's like the lines of this battle are being drawn, and we have found ourselves, because of who we are, because of, what's at the core, what's being revealed, is that there was goodness in us. And our initial, when we get down to that, okay, we don't run for a gun or a baseball bat, or drugs and alcohol. We fall to our knees, and where we fall to our knees, that is a mercy seat, and we plead the mercy and the grace of the Most High, that He cover us, with His wings, that He protect us in that secret place. Interesting that we go there, and that is something that I never really expected. You know, again, as I shared in an earlier video, when I found myself, um, coming up after, I mean, with all that I was dealing with, being able to graduate from university and feeling good and thinking, hey, what else? This is great. Life can't get any better. Life didn't get any better. It got a bit worse. But finding that strength, and being in a situation where I had like no control, and literally having to be in a communal environment like that, with people who, some of whom, as I shared, I really suspect that they were perpetrators, that they were gang stalkers, and they were there to just be closer, that much closer to their targets, to their victims, and having to literally, be in bunk beds where the person, on the bunk bed right across from me is someone who I suspected of doing something, and having to literally lay down, close my eyes, and sleep there, and just praying, to the Most High for protection, um, and surviving and making it through, and still having to deal with problems, thinking, I don't dare ever think that this is over, because I think it's in, I want to say first, maybe Second Thessalonians, when you think peace, sudden destruction, and everything that is starting to just build up in other parts of the world. This is relentless. It's not going to stop, and I resigned myself to that many years ago. No, I'm not saying that I resigned myself to, like in some defeatist attitude, where it's just, it's never going to, just no, we just can't go on. Not like that, but just knowing that this is life. You know, this is life. There is the good and the bad, for everyone. Rain falls, it doesn't just fall on one housetop, you know, and it depends on what we have here. Again, what's in here. This is the type of thing how you find out, you know, and I'm just grateful, to the Most High. It just puts me in a place of just gratitude. It puts me in a place of compassion. And let me just say right now that you are all in my prayers. Those of you who have subscribed, those of you who are leaving comments, um, I pray for us all, okay, that we can continue to find the strength, the, intestinal fortitude to stand up to this and to do what is right, to don't give in, and give them what they want. Because that, I mean, stay strong if for no other reason than to just to deny them the satisfaction. Okay, because there is some satisfaction that some of those wicked fools get when they see someone that they've been targeting, finally break down. That really, pleases them because that's what they want. Um, they, as it's been described to me, they feed off of that type of negative energy. You know, they feed off of the tears and just the frustration and the misery that they create. And that's their choice. But we're not going to do that. We have, we serve an Elohim, a mighty one who is mighty. Okay, it's I wish sometimes, I mean, I love to write praises, and I'm going to try and share some of them with you. um because sometimes it I can't even find words to express what I really feel. But I give it a go, and I've had success with it for myself in terms of my relationship with the Most High, and I want to find a way to share them. And that's where a stumbling block in terms of not knowing how to translate that on a in terms of video. I know people who can work really good with like digital media, and they can do the special effects and all that stuff, but I can't. I don't know how to do that. But I'm going to give it a go, because I do want to share them, because I think that that maybe it will inspire and encourage and uplift you just as it did me in writing them. And so I'm going to end right now. But again, thank you everyone who has subscribed. And hey, shalom.